Welcome to Tips for Clips. Today I'm going to show you how to give a medium to low fade and how to buzz cut curly hair. So here I'm using a number 3 clip on the short setting, and the key with cutting curly hair is that the hair is going to be going in all different directions. So what you want to do is make sure that you take your clippers in all different directions to make sure that all the hair on top is the same exact length. And you can notice that I'm only cutting the top here because there's no point in cutting the sides since I'm going to use other clips on the sides. It's just a time saver. Next, I'm going to use a number 2 clip on the long setting. And with this clip, I'm going to go all along the sides, and I want to go about as high as that break between the sides and the top. It's kind of a natural break, a natural height. You're going to see how high I go here. That's just about where you want to go, and it's much easier to fade at that height. So I'm just going to go all around with this number 2. It's like a 2.5, I like to think of it. And here I've taken off all clips on the long setting, so it's as though I'm using a half. And I'm going to make my fade line here. And because I'm calling this a medium or a low fade, you're going to see that I'm going to go just above the ear, and then as I go towards the back and the bottom, I'm going to curve it downwards, kind of in a U shape. You're going to see by the end of this, I'm going to have a nice U shape formed on the back of the head. The point of this is that by the end of the haircut, the fade is going to be lower than the other haircuts I've shown you guys so far. And as always, you want to make this as clean as possible so you don't have to come back to this step. And go all around with the same clip on each step. This saves time. I'm not showing you guys here, but I am doing it. Next, I'm using a number 1 clip on the long setting, so it's like I'm using a 1.5, and I'm going to use this here to make my guidelines. So essentially what I'm doing is making a band around the head. So I'm going to have 2 lines, the initial line that I made underneath and the line that I'm making now above. These are going to function as markers for exactly where I'm going to blend my fade. This pretty much guarantees that by the end of the haircut, the fade is going to be nice and smooth. And you can see that I'm going up about 1.5 inches, but you have your leisure as to how much space you want to give. But typically anywhere between 0.5 inch to 2 inches is okay. But of course, the more space you give yourself, the easier it'll be to blend. Here's the number 2 clip on the short setting, and I'm going to use that to fade in between the 1.5 and the 2.5. Again, when I say half, what I mean is in the open lever setting, which is the long setting. So this step is supposed to eliminate the upper line completely, but with curly hair, sometimes it's a little more complicated. You're going to see I'm going to blend most of it, but there's still going to be one more step that I need to do. And if there's any reason to keep watching this video, it's to see how I'm going to get rid of those stubborn lines that just aren't going away. Here's a number 1 on the short setting, and I'm going to start getting rid of that lower line. With this step, it's important to not go above the upper line. So you're just trying to tug away at that lower line. So just like with the previous step on the upper line, this step on the lower line is supposed to completely get rid of that lower line, but it's not going to. So this is going to be one of the more valuable tips I give you guys. What to do when a line is not completely going away even though you use the right clips. The key is you're going to use the same clips that you use to make your fade lines initially, but you're going to use them in a slightly different technique. So you see I'm going to use a half right here to get rid of that lower line because I used the half initially to make that fade line. But I'm using the corner here instead of holding my clippers horizontally because the corner makes me very deliberate and precise about exactly which hairs I'm cutting. So I'm not going to remake the line, I'm just going to get rid of that initial line. The final step then would be to use this same corner technique using a 1.5 to get rid of the upper line because a 1.5 is what I used initially to create that upper line. And there you have it, a nice basic medium to low fade from curly hair to a buzz cut. I used the number 2 to trim his beard, and I already have a video out on how to give the perfect shape up every time. Be sure to subscribe, new tips and new techniques coming.